Welcome to this training on functional communication training presented by Alyssa, Sean, Brooke, Sarah, and Jessica. As ABA therapists, my team members and I were recruited to address the problem behaviors of tantrums and sharing toys in all classrooms at Ellison Preschool. This is an inclusive preschool that services 200 students, both in regular and special education. Of the 200 students, 50 preschoolers receive speech therapy and about 25 are nonverbal. To address these problem behaviors, my team members and I are helping implement an intervention called Functional Communication Training, or FCT. The goal of this intervention is to replace the problem behaviors being exhibited with the communicative act of requesting items through the choice board. The following training will provide you with the information about how to implement FCT in the classrooms at Ellison Preschool.
In reference to the research backing up functional communication training, we know that it is an evidence-based intervention for children as young as 1 year old all the way to adults. Research cited on this slide, as well as referenced at the end of the presentation, have proven that FCT has been successful in decreasing inappropriate forms of communication and increasing appropriate forms. Behavior that FCT has reduced includes grunting, pointing, hitting, kicking, throwing, as well as tantrums, while at the same time increasing the use of picture exchange communication systems, known as PECs, speech-generated devices, picture cards, and switches as a more appropriate form of communication.
So what are the steps to implement functional communication training? First, you want to identify the interfering problem behavior that you're having. So in this case, the tantrums. Then you'd complete a functional behavior assessment to see the function of this behavior. Next, you would identify an appropriate replacement behavior for the interfering behavior. So in this case, it would be using the choice board to request specific snack items. You would design and implement a data collection procedure, manipulate the environment to elicit the interfering behavior. Next, you would plan for opportunities to generalize this skill across different settings and staff and requesting for different items. Next, you would prompt the learners to use this replacement behavior and reinforce that instead of reinforcing the interfering behavior, which was typically reinforced in the past. While doing this, you would shape the responses and then fade the use of the prompting as soon as possible and continue to monitor the learner's progress. So here's a sample data sheet that you could use doing functional communication training. You'd write down the activity or the setting, the antecedent, so what happens right before the behavior, what the behavior is, any type of prompt levels that you had to use, and then the consequence, so what happened right after the behavior.
So here we have a video model. It's shown how to use the choice board. Specifically how to use it in a snack time setting.
Hi, today we're going to be showing how we could use a choice board within a snack setting. So we have this choice board here with all the icons on it. Couple things to remember when using a choice board is that all the icons on the board should be the only items available. So for example, I have a fruit cup icon, but I have no fruit cup available during this particular meal time. So I will not put this icon on the board. Only the icons that are available will be on the board. So we'll just show you a couple of rounds of what that looks like. Milk. Make sure in between that you switch up the position of the icon so the child just doesn't continue to grab the icon in one particular location. Banana. Yogurt. And that's how you can use a choice board.
As you can see, the child immediately is given the item that is paired with the icon. Any icons unavailable are then not on the board. This video shows a mock child that did not need any prompting. However, when the child is first learning, additional prompting of the child may be needed, either from the teacher or from additional staff members. Also on this slide are a couple different examples of various snack items that may be available on the choice board for the child.
So several staff members at Ellison reported concerns about tantrums, which were occurring as a result of the children not having appropriate skills to share toys. So our intervention with the use of choice boards will allow children who lack verbal skills to be able to effectively communicate with staff and peers, and it allows them more appropriate ways to communicate. We will be using this intervention with the small number of children who have limited verbal skills and also who are displaying those tantrum behaviors. It's a really low cost, easy to implement procedure that will be used across all classrooms where these target behaviors are occurring. We won't need to hire any additional staff to implement the choice boards, as ABA therapists will be able to provide staff support as they're learning and practicing how to consistently implement these choice boards within the classroom. We'll be using a variety of methods to ensure correct implementation. One of those is this video. We will also provide modeling, role-playing, and feedback sessions.
A couple final tips to remember when using the choice board inside the classroom is the need for using a least to most prompting procedure may be needed when the children are first being introduced to a choice board. Within that process, additional staff should be ready to assist with this prompting procedure when applicable. That additional staff can include the parent volunteers, the speech path, and other additional staff that are available within the school setting. And while we're implementing the choice board at snack time, it should be noted that more complex uses of this choice board will need to be introduced as the child begins to understand the concepts around the choice board. So that includes additional items on the choice board besides just snack options, such as lunch options, various other settings, such as free time or outdoor recess, and then also additional communication partners, such as peers or parents or other settings. And as a reminder, ABA therapists will be available throughout this entire process to answer any additional questions you may have. And then these are the references that Sean discussed earlier in regards to FCT.